It was certainly used during Christian times, but there's also evidence that there's prehistoric activity going on.
Just when archaeologists thought they'd unraveled all Göbekli Tepe's secrets, a newly uncovered chamber has turned everything upside down and left them visibly shaken. This ancient site, already famous as one of the world's oldest monumental temples,
What he discovered was mind-blowing. After discovering the first T-shaped pillar buried at the site, he soon found more of these massive structures.
now hides a dark mystery deep underground. What they found inside this chamber challenges not only our history books, but the very fears and beliefs of our prehistoric ancestors. Ready to dive into a story that's equal parts thrilling and terrifying? A chamber of secrets and mysteries.
This is the oldest temple unearthed anywhere on this planet.
Göbekli Tepe has been capturing everyone's imagination for years. This ancient site in southeastern Turkey is like the granddaddy of temples, built over 11,000 years ago, way before cities, writing, or even farming took off. Archaeologists have been digging here for decades, slowly uncovering huge stone pillars covered in carvings of animals and strange symbols. But just when people thought they had the place figured out, the latest dig turned up something totally unexpected. A hidden chamber that's got everyone talking, and honestly, a little spooked. This new chamber isn't your typical room. It's small and cramped, carved right into the rock, with walls covered in weird carvings that don't look like anything anyone's seen before at Göbekli Tepe. The entrance was hidden under massive stone slabs, like it was meant to stay secret for thousands of years. When the archaeologists stepped inside, they said it felt kind of eerie, quiet, tight, almost like the air itself was holding its breath. But what really freaked them out were the images on the walls, shadows that looked less like animals and more like ghostly figures, mixed with strange geometric shapes that seemed, well, almost alive in a way. The layout of the chamber also threw people for a loop. Instead of the open, circular spaces typical of Göbekli Tepe, this chamber was narrow and maze-like.
A couple of seasons later, and Göbekli Tepe was the most famous archaeological site in the world.
Almost like a crypt or a tomb. Some pillars even had scorch marks, hinting at fire being used for rituals, though nobody's sure why. They also found a small pile of bone fragments and burnt remains in one corner, which was super unusual since the rest of the site has never yielded any human remains. That discovery added a serious layer of mystery. Were there sacrifices? Burials? Something else entirely? When the scientists first saw it, they were a mix of excited and uneasy. We thought we'd find more of the usual stuff. Animals, symbols related to hunting or fertility, said Dr. Leyla Demir, one of the lead archaeologists. But this? It felt darker, more complicated, and honestly, a little creepy. The creepiness wasn't just about the visuals. It was about what the chamber might represent. Was it a sacred spot? A prison for something dangerous? Or maybe a warning left behind by ancient people to keep others away from something terrifying? This find has people rethinking what Göbekli Tepe was really for. Most experts saw it as a spiritual hangout, where early humans worshipped gods or cosmic forces. But this hidden chamber hints at something different. Maybe a place where people confronted their fears, or even tried to contain evil spirits. It's a whole new angle on what the site could mean.
One archaeologist calls these enclosures not just animal gatherings, but theaters of predation.
Since the discovery, there's been a ton of debate. Some think it might be an ancient underworld gateway, based on the strange symbols and crypt-like vibe. Others say, hold on, maybe it was just a storage room or a quiet space for ceremonies. But whatever it is, no one can deny the powerful feeling the chamber gives off. What's really wild about this chamber is how it connects us to ancient human emotions. It shows that even 11,000 years ago, people were dealing with fear and the unknown, and they built this eerie space to express it. It's like a 12,000-year-old message in a bottle, reminding us that some things, like fear and mystery, are truly timeless. So now the big question is, what does all of this actually mean? Was this hidden chamber just an odd corner of the site, or does it completely change how we understand Göbekli Tepe and the people who built it? A mirror of the ancient past. Here's the thing. Göbekli Tepe was already a big deal before this new chamber showed up. It completely flipped the script on what we thought we knew about ancient humans. I mean, this was a place built by hunter-gatherers who hadn't even started farming yet. And it blew people away because it showed they were capable of massive, organized projects way earlier than anyone expected. But now, with this secret chamber, archaeologists are scratching their heads again. It's like Göbekli Tepe just got a whole lot more complicated. Up until now, most experts believed the site was a kind of spiritual center, where early humans came together for rituals, celebrating nature, hunting, fertility, maybe even early gods. But the eerie vibes of this chamber suggest there might have been something darker at play too. For starters, the cramped, crypt-like design isn't what you'd expect for a big communal gathering spot. It feels more like a hidden sanctum, or even a containment area. Some researchers are now asking, was Göbekli Tepe also a place where people confronted or trapped evil forces? Did they believe spirits or dangers lurked underground and build this chamber as a kind of spiritual safe room? This totally shifts how we think about the social structure of these ancient folks.
Their loincloths appeared to represent fox hides, or possibly worn specifically by the ritual specialists.
Instead of just peaceful gatherings or celebrations, the site might have hosted complex rituals dealing with fear, death, or even the afterlife. The presence of burned remains and bones could mean sacrifice or burial ceremonies took place here, something that's never been seen before at Göbekli Tepe. If that's true, it suggests a much deeper spiritual life than previously thought. Plus, it forces us to reconsider the people who built this place. Were they just skilled stonemasons? Or were they early shamans or priests who believed in controlling supernatural forces? The chamber hints they might have had a strong belief in an unseen world, a world that could be dangerous, requiring special places and rituals to keep people safe. And get this, when you compare Göbekli Tepe to other ancient sites, this chamber really stands out. Most prehistoric temples focus on big open spaces, designed for groups to come together. But hidden crypts or secret chambers are rare, and usually linked with very specific purposes, like burial or powerful rituals. This could be one of the earliest examples of that kind of space. It's also fascinating because it shows how our ancestors were already experimenting with architecture and symbolism to express complex ideas. They weren't just making art for art's sake. They were shaping their environment to reflect their beliefs, hopes, and fears. This discovery adds a whole new layer of meaning to Göbekli Tepe, showing it wasn't just a temple, but a place where ancient humans grappled with the mysteries of life and death. Basically, this chamber might rewrite prehistory books, pushing us to think beyond simple explanations. It reminds us that these early people were deeply thoughtful and spiritual, facing existential questions we still wrestle with today. What were these mysterious carvings and objects trying to say, and who were they meant for? The symbolism and artifacts. Decoding ancient messages. All right, let's talk about the carvings and artifacts inside this mysterious chamber, because this is where things get really intriguing. The walls aren't just blank stone. They're covered with images and symbols that seem to tell a story, or maybe even a warning. First off, the carvings here don't look like the usual animal figures you see all over Göbekli Tepe, like foxes, snakes, birds, or wild boars. Instead, they're darker, more abstract. Some look like shadowy humanoid shapes with exaggerated features, almost ghost-like, or spirit figures that seem to loom over the space. Others are strange geometric patterns that don't quite fit with the known symbolism from the rest of the site. These patterns look almost like coded messages, with repeating lines, circles, and zigzags that suggest some kind of language or ritualistic meaning.
So this is a fox There's vultures here, there's bear, there's wild boar, and here...
Archaeologists are busy trying to crack these codes. Some think the symbols might represent celestial events, like eclipses or star movements. Göbekli Tepe is already linked to early astronomy, so it wouldn't be surprising if this chamber contained a kind of cosmic calendar or map. But the shadowy figures have sparked theories about spirits or beings from the other side, maybe ancestors, demons, or gods meant to be feared and respected. Then there's the handful of artifacts found scattered inside, fragments of pottery, carved bones, and tiny figurines. The pottery shards are unusually decorated, with patterns that match the wall carvings, hinting these objects were used in the same rituals. The carved bones are more mysterious. They look like tools, but are too intricately worked to be purely practical. Some experts think they could have been ritual objects, maybe used to communicate with the spirit world or to seal the chamber spiritually. What's wild is how these symbols and objects don't just stand alone. They connect deeply to the rest of Göbekli Tepe, but also challenge it.
This was dressed with furs, and they were also painted. So you get the impression of this place.
While the bigger site celebrates life, nature, and hunting, this chamber seems focused on the unknown, maybe even the dangerous. It's like the peaceful temple above ground had a darker underbelly, a place where fear and respect for unseen forces took center stage. This duality between the visible and hidden, life and death, safety and fear, is a theme archaeologists are now obsessed with. It shows that early humans had a complex worldview, one that included not just celebration, but caution, not just worship, but protection. And here's a cool thought. Maybe these symbols and artifacts were meant as warnings, a way for ancient people to pass down knowledge about dangers that others might face. The chamber could have been a kind of sacred library or message board, preserved carefully so future generations wouldn't forget what lurked beneath. All in all, decoding these carvings and artifacts is like trying to solve a puzzle written thousands of years ago by people whose language we can barely imagine. It's a reminder of how rich and mysterious human history is and how much we still have to learn. The chicken or the egg theory. Göbekli Tepe seriously shakes up the way we think about how civilization began. For decades, the story seemed simple. Humans invented farming, which let them settle down, build bigger communities, and eventually develop religion and rituals to make sense of the world and bind society together. Easy, right? But Göbekli Tepe flips this whole idea on its head. Here's the kicker. This massive, jaw-dropping temple complex was built by people who weren't farmers. They were still hunter-gatherers, constantly on the move, living off wild plants and animals.
That simple hunter-gatherers could produce such spectacular monumental structures.
So, if they weren't farming yet, how did they manage to organize themselves to build such a monumental place? The answer might be that religion and ritual came first, and farming followed. Instead of agriculture sparking religion, it could have been spirituality and communal ceremonies that pushed humans to settle down and farm. Imagine it, thousands of people coming together to carve huge stone pillars decorated with mysterious animal carvings and arrange them in circles for ceremonies. That's a massive cooperative effort requiring planning, trust, and shared purpose. What if the need to gather regularly for ritual and worship was so strong that it motivated these nomadic groups to stick around one place? To feed those growing communities, they would have needed a steady food supply, which could have led to the birth of farming. This flips the classic chicken or egg question of civilization on its head.
Göbekli Tepe could be the smoking gun of a lost civilization.
Maybe it wasn't agriculture first, then religion, but the other way around. Religion first, farming second. Spirituality could have been the real spark behind human cooperation and social complexity. Rituals might have created the bonds necessary to build not just temples, but the very foundations of society. Göbekli Tepe challenges everything we thought we knew about our ancestors. It suggests that faith and community weren't just byproducts of civilization. They might have been the drivers. It's a powerful reminder that human history isn't a neat, linear story. Instead, it's a rich, messy web where belief, culture, and survival all weave together to shape who we are. But beyond all these, one question lingered louder than the rest. Why did this chamber leave seasoned scientists genuinely rattled? Why were scientists frightened? Okay, so by now you're probably wondering, what exactly made the archaeologists terrified? It's not every day that a bunch of seasoned scientists step into a chamber and come out visibly shaken. Let's unpack that. First off, it wasn't just the creepy carvings or the strange symbols that did it. Sure, the shadowy figures and geometric patterns were unsettling, but scientists deal with weird stuff all the time. What really got under their skin was the overall vibe of the chamber, the way it was designed, and what it seemed to represent. Imagine stepping into a space that feels intentionally claustrophobic, with narrow passages that twist and turn like a labyrinth. It's not an inviting place. It's a trap. That kind of architecture suggests the chamber wasn't built for comfort or celebration, but for containment or protection.
This incredible feat of architecture is not the most revolutionary thing about this place.
Maybe it was meant to keep something in or to keep people out. That's a chilling thought, especially when combined with the other discoveries inside. Then there's the presence of scorch marks on the pillars and the charred remains in the corner. Fire has long been associated with purification, protection, or even banishing evil spirits. It's possible these ancient people used fire rituals in this very chamber, maybe to keep whatever haunted their fears at bay. The idea that this was a place for confronting dark forces or spirits is enough to unsettle anyone, even the experts. On top of that, the carvings themselves seem almost alive, like they're watching you. Researchers describe the sensation as a kind of psychological pressure, a feeling that this wasn't just a chamber, but a warning. That's a powerful reaction, especially in a place so old that you expect only silence and dust. Some archaeologists have speculated that fear was a deliberate tool used by the builders. Maybe this chamber was designed to intimidate visitors or to channel communal anxieties about death, the afterlife, or the unknown. Ancient humans weren't naive. They knew fear could be a powerful force in maintaining social order or spiritual balance. Building a chamber that provoked fear might have been a way to control or protect their community. And let's not forget the emotional impact on the scientists themselves. They weren't just uncovering stones. They were stepping into the minds and beliefs of people who lived millennia ago. People who had real fears and rituals about life, death, and what lies beyond. It's a humbling and eerie experience, and for some, it triggered genuine unease. This fear isn't just a footnote in the discovery, it's central to understanding the chamber's purpose. It shows that Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a happy place for gathering and worshipping, it was also a place where humanity first wrestled with some of its deepest fears, a place where the unknown was both revered and feared. When scientists say they were terrified, they're not just talking about spooky carvings or tight spaces. They're describing a profound connection to the ancient human experience of fear. That makes this chamber not just an archaeological find, but a haunting reminder of the primal emotions that have shaped our species for thousands of years. The purposeful burial. One of the most fascinating mysteries about Göbekli Tepe is what happened to it around 8000 BCE.
Weirdly, the date that Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is built, 11,600 years ago.
Its purposeful burial. Unlike most ancient sites that were simply abandoned and left to crumble, Göbekli Tepe's enormous stone circles and beautifully carved pillars were intentionally buried under heaps of soil and rubble. This wasn't some accident caused by nature, like a landslide or flood. Archaeologists are pretty sure it was a carefully planned move. But why would the people who built this incredible place go to such lengths to bury it? That's where the mystery really gets interesting. One popular idea is that this was a kind of ritual retirement for the site. Think about how some churches or temples today get deconsecrated or respectfully closed when they're no longer used. The burial of Göbekli Tepe might have been a similar kind of sacred send-off, signaling that its time as a spiritual hub had come to an end. This suggests the people who built it had a deep respect for the place and saw the closure of the site as a meaningful event, not just a practical one. It's a glimpse into how early humans might have thought about beginnings and endings in a spiritual sense. Another theory is that they buried it to protect it. Covering the site could have been a way to keep it safe from damage, or even to hide it from outsiders who weren't supposed to see it. This shows a surprising level of care, an early kind of heritage preservation, if you will. Some scholars even wonder if the burial was meant to lock away secret knowledge or powerful rituals that only certain people were meant to know about. It's like they wanted to keep the mysteries of Göbekli Tepe under wraps. What's really striking is how unusual this burial is. Most ancient monuments weren't treated this way. That the people who built Göbekli Tepe took the time and effort to bury it speaks volumes about how important the site was to them, not just as a building project, but as a place filled with meaning.
And it would seem that the builders were people who had survived and had the knowledge and technology to...
It challenges everything we thought we knew about prehistoric people, showing they were capable of deep symbolism and intentional acts of closure. In a way, Göbekli Tepe offers one of the earliest examples of humans honoring their sacred spaces, even when those spaces had outlived their original purpose. The mysteries never end, especially in Turkey, where Göbekli Tepe lies. For more of these, subscribe to the channel for free.